All right, so I'm back. I'm going to do some standing stuff. To get myself here, I'm going to just squat. Now, not all of you are comfortable squatting. If it hurts your knees to squat, then I really don't recommend it. Don't do anything that hurts knees. You can just give it a pause and just stand, go get a glass of water and come back. So if you can squat, it might look like this, it might look like that, but make sure your feet are not put together. That just makes it more challenging. Keep them at least as wide as your hips. You can take a breath in, and I'm going to show you this from the side, but again, you stay facing. So what I'm going to do is try to lift with my sit bones. Instead of trying to push my knees back, I'm just going to pull my sit bones up. Now, you might look like this where your knees are quite bent. Can you keep the body and the legs together and just hang? So what we want to avoid is straighter legs and a rounded back that's sort of hanging there. It's nicer for the body if you can bend the knees. It makes it a lot easier to actually connect your body to your thighs and just let your head drop. And if you're comfortable, you can come back in a squat and just lift your head, lower your seat. And we'll do one more. So the forward bend, this is really a floppy doll. Just hang there, knees can bend, let the head hang. We're trying to decompress the spine. Don't worry about your hamstrings stretching. You know, that's not always the biggest issue for most of us. What we need to do is loosen them maybe, but we are still stretching hamstrings, but letting the back at least be a little straighter, not hanging in midair. Now I'm going to come up from the back of my head and the front of my chest is a sensation I have. So my back ends up straight, my knees a little straighter, but avoid pushing the knees far back. Let there be a little softness in the knees. So pushing far back can overstretch the back and hyperextend, and that's any time. So let there be a little softness, but keep your back. So we don't want this kind of back where this is rounded. The lower back should have that arch. So think again of picking your sit bones up and then fold. Let the knees bend again so you can fold and have your spine be as much upside down as it can be. So when I come up, I put my hands under my knees, on my shins. I lift from the back of my head. If I had a ponytail, pull it up, and the front of my chest, just under my collarbone. That keeps my back straight. Now my back is straight and I want to stand up. So instead of cranking up from here, I'm going to bend my knees. Now my spine is facing upwards and I use my legs to stand. They are well designed to do that standing. All right, so we're going to stand up and do a few things. I'll see if I can back up and you can see all the way to my hands. So I'm going to inhale up. And again, when my arms are up, I'm not going to hoist my shoulders too much. Don't pull them down, but just find that happy place. So put your hands together. I like to point the index finger and then tip it to the right. Now, try not to put the hips out too far at first. See if you can keep your hips centered and try to get the body. So there's a part of you from the belly button to your feet that is stable. And then come up and go to the other side. So really tipping from my waist and my ribs. And pressing the feet and lengthen the neck. So again, my arms are up and I'm not yanking in the shoulder. I'm just lengthening them calmly, lifting my head from my feet. I've gone to that first side again. And then I'll go to that second side again. And notice if you're still breathing calmly, that's always a place or a way to know if you're tensing. And if you're holding your breath, you're holding muscles too tight. These muscles have to hold tight to not breathe. And then come up. Now, if you feel really flexible and you want to take the hips out, you can go ahead and do that. But if you don't feel that's right for you, then just stay where you are and do it again without moving the hips out. Just different stretches, and we all have different bodies, so we have to listen to that body. Then take your arms out and down. All right. So we're going to do a couple sun salutations first. Again, I'll show them for the side. I think I'll turn this way so my head gets a nice ability to see you in both sides. So I'm going to take myself from the front of whatever I'm standing on. I want to make sure I have room to move back. I'm going to take my arms up, bend my knees, and I'm pushing my sit bones back. Now my hands need to land right by the heels. Often they're by the toes or in front. Try to really plant them on the ground or the mat or the rug, whatever you got, and then take one leg back. I'm going to take my right leg. This way, when my hands are by my heels, which is by my shin, there's a knee over heel, and if I was forward, it'd be all looking like this, and it's less comfortable once you get there. So start them hands by heels, so when you move the leg back, it stays. I'm going to press into them and take the other leg back. that was too much, you can always take the first knee down, take the other one back. And you can either join us then in both legs up, or just stay with both knees down, because we're going to do that next. Now coming down forward, I'm going to show you a lot of times what happens is the arms go out. We're going to try to bend them back. One way that's easy is take your hands just a little outward, and then you can just go taking the arms as close to your ribs as you can, and you're now down on your belly. So actually it's great for the back to use our spine. So this is what we want to avoid, where you're just dumping into your arms are super straight, you're compressing the low back. Instead, pull the shoulders down, bend the elbows, and make sure they're close to you. So from the front, it doesn't look like this, it looks like this. So again, you can take your hands, turn them out a bit, and if that's a lot for you, your elbows are not so straight, so it's more work, then just do this. Let me come back sideways. Just lift your spine from, I'm not even using my hands. So I look down, I lift my spine, and now the spine does the work. From here, I'm going to push up, and I'm going to come in my down dog. So I'm going to tuck my toes, and I'm going to start by tipping my hips. I'm going to close this door again here. Sorry about that. Thought that was a better draw. Okay, tip my hips. I'm going to pull up from my sit bones, drop my head. So what I want to avoid is having my head over my hands too much and my back, the lower part, rounded. So if you bend your knees and heels up, it'll help to lift the sit bones. And I'm not really pushing with my hands. I'm lifting with my hips. Then I'm going to look at my hands. Now you might crawl there. I can get my foot in one swing, but maybe you'll just walk. One foot, then the other. And then again, fold with your knees softly bent. Then lift your spine. So again, I'm lifting from the back of the head. My back is nice and straight. My knees bend, and then I just use the legs to stand up. So we'll do it again, but now using the other leg going back. So I inhale nicely up. I'm going to bend my knees, push my hips back. Remember the hands right along the heels, arms and shins. And I'm going to take the other leg back, hands stay there, stretch my head up. So don't drop that head and let it hang. Lift like you're ready to run. So you can either put that knee down, take the other knee back, or you can just keep it up and go into plank. Plank is not down dog. Your hips, shoulders, and heels are in one straight line. And then I'll bring my knees down. You could have done this just going straight down. And make sure to keep those elbows close towards your body. And then you'll either lift into baby cobra, where I'm not really using hands. I'm using the spine muscles, the belly, and I'm lifting my chest up. You can come into cobra, making sure the shoulders stay down, the elbows stay close, and a little bent. Tuck the toes. Remember, before you go down dog, tip your hips and pull from those hips. Really get that feeling of pulling the hips up. You might walk in place here, loosen it up. All right, then we're going to walk left foot, then right, either in a few steps or in one. Fold. Make sure to keep those knees a little bent or a lot bent. Now I'm going to lift from the back of the head and the chest. Bend my knees even more, and I'm going to bring myself standing. And that's our sun salutation. So you could do that a second round if you feel like it. I'm going to now do a few of the basic standing poses. They're warrior series. So the first one, we're going to take one leg back. Again, don't worry about which one. Now often what happens, I'm going to face you for a minute, is that if I do my foot right in front of the other, my hips end up turned. I want them to face the front. So I'm going to take my front foot and walk it wider this way, and now I can really get my hips. So you don't want to go too wide, but just where you can actually get your hips forward. All right, so you're going to bend that front leg, lift your sternum. This is the bone that's here. Lift that up, and then the arms. And turn your palms to face each other. I'm hugging my belly muscles a bit. So my abdominals are coming in, which will press my organs in there and flatten them into this lower spine to help protect it. Because otherwise, this is kind of a back bend. Not kind of, it actually is a back bend, and I don't want to compress by letting go of the belly. But don't squeeze too hard. That's my warrior one. Then I'm going to slowly make that front leg straight, but I'm going to remember that, good thing I shaved, I'm sure you could see that. little humor in the middle of our crisis. So make sure you don't push the knee far, far back where you feel the stretch back here. So you don't want to feel the stretch there. You want to soften it just a bit. So straight is not as far back. So I don't want to feel the sensation of that going this way. Instead, I want to feel the sensation of my foot pushing so that there's this less stress on the joint. My hips still forward as if I was facing you. Now I'm going to go up. But I want to keep my back straight. So what I'm going to do is actually bend from my hip. So I'm going to bend from the hip here, not from anywhere here, but hip, 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 and my spine is staying straight. So don't worry about getting to the floor and then you might be all rounded. Stay higher if you can't get there. And if you have some blocks, then use them. So I still want to have that lower back not flattened out. I want to have that natural arch. Stretch my neck. You can exhale and go further. Go ahead. Now bend that front knee just to protect it and let it push you up. The foot pushes in the floor. And again, you straighten the spine up. All right. So we're going to go to the other side. So take the other leg, whatever leg you moved before, take the other leg back. Make the front foot go a little towards the pinky toe of that foot so that you can get those hips straight. Bend that knee. Now, the pictures all show this 90-degree angle. This back leg is straight, but some of us can't do, so you just don't go as far. But just bend it where you can. Remember, you're going to zip from the pelvic floor to the solar plexus so you don't overarch the back. You protect it. Float your arms facing palms together, shoulders up, but not, or I should say arms up, but not shoulders lifting too much. All right, breathe. So the back leg is straight and strong. It's taking as much of the work as the front one. Shoulders relaxed, chest up, belly hugging. So now we'll slowly make the front leg straighter. Again, imagine your foot pushing in the floor, not your knee going backwards. And leave that little micro bend. And you're going to tip from the hips. So I'm going to tip my hips forward. Go ahead and put your hand on the shin. Think of pulling your sit bones up to get that natural curve. And you might only be here, that's fine. If you can go further, that's fine. Let the head be the last thing that goes. To come up, you're going to lift again by bending the knee. You can put your hand on it. And you lift the head and the chest up so that the top of your body come up and guide the movement. All right. We'll do warrior 2 and triangle. So what we're going to do is take one foot, face that to the front of whatever you're on. The back foot also faces the front, but my body now is facing sideways. So I'm not facing the front, I'm facing sideways. And as I bend this knee, I make sure this hip doesn't go up too much. I want to level the hips. Back leg straight. This one bends. I'm going to turn so my palms face up. The upper arm, which is this elbow to shoulder, turns up just as high as shoulders. Now you can turn the wrists without turning the upper arm. That's the upper arm turning. And that's just the wrist turning. So I'm going to turn my wrists. I'm going to look past the front hand. Just beyond it. Just gaze. That's warrior 2. We could do exalted warrior or reverse warrior, some call it. And I put my back hand behind my thigh just to keep that stretching nice and straight. And I'm lifting this one without stressing the shoulder. Keeping the knee bent. And I'm going to slowly straighten the front leg. I'm going to take my hand on that front leg, and slide it. Now I'm bending here. I'm not bending here or here or here. I'm bending right at the leg entering the hip. So you see my spine is trying to stay straight, not curvy. And don't go so low that you're going with your hips back and you're facing down. You want to keep yourself high enough that you can stay sideways so the ribs are facing up and that your seat doesn't go back but stays in line between your feet. My rug is so slippery, I'm clinging here, and then come back up. We'll take the feet and just move them to the other direction, all right? So both feet's toes face the same way. And I'm going to bend the front knee. And I'm going to make sure my hips don't hold, the back one usually comes up, and bring it down. Back leg straight. I'm going to turn those upper arms out like I always do whenever I do anything. I really turn them out. That helps drop my shoulder blades, keeps my heart up. If you're not sure about that, go ahead and turn them this way. Notice what happens. and back up. Just turn your wrists. All right, back leg straight. That's warrior two, and I'm going to look past the front fingers. All right. Now I'm going to do exalted or reverse warrior, keeping the front knee bent and going down this way. This arm, the top one, I'm going to make the palms face down, and that's turning that upper arm out. The palm would face down. And then I'm going to come slowly straight in the front leg, but remember, keep a micro bend. And I'm not going to turn at my waist or ribs or even the top of the hip. My hip joint is here, so go ahead. Go up your leg, find where the leg enters the hip, and press in there. That's the crease. And then drop. You don't have to touch floor. You can use the shin. And if your seat starts to go back, bring it forward and come higher. And stretch the side you're going down. So instead of curving, can you stretch this lower side and turn to face towards the side wall? Really, you want to get to try to face the ceiling. You'll never get there, but that feeling. And this arm is tricky. It often gets pulled back and turns. Leave it right there. So when I look up, my thumb is right above my eye. I'm not doing a lot of turning with this arm. I can let it go. This is my turning. And then this is just calmly stretching out. It's really the same arm as this. It hasn't changed. What I often see is people try to force the turn with the arm, or it ends up back here. Just keep it here. It's really the same as this. All right. So let's just center all that. We'll take our feet and bring them parallel towards the mat, which is now, my mat's this way and I'm facing you, so face the same thing on your mat. So both your feet are on your mat, your rug, towel, wherever you're on. I'm going to go back up my legs and find that crease. That's where I want to go down. So I'm straightening my spine as I go down, right? I'm not letting it round. And don't let your head lead. Let your belly lead. Let your hips pull up, your belly folds to your thighs, and then let the head drop. Sometimes I like swinging my hips side to side as I bend the knee. Just hang there. We can do some stretching. Just stretch your arms. All right. Just let it go. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Lift your spine straight. So my seat is staying up. So I'm not rounding like this. Seat is up. I'll bend my knees a lot. And I can look up. So I call this the sumo wrestler. Hands on legs. So you see my straight back is not effortful to come up. It's my legs that bring me up. Come back to the front of the mat. All right. In this time where we need balance, let's just do one balancing and then I'll pause this video and I'll do some stuff on the floor. It's back to relaxation at the end of this little 4-part series. So I'm going to take my toes, my knee goes out, and I'm going to put my foot here. Now, often this tree is here, but what I find is people then struggle to keep that leg up and it becomes all the focus. So instead of making this the issue, let's make standing the issue on one leg. So what if you let the hip drop out? That's not really what we want to look at. We want to push that foot. You can see the line of my pajamas. If you push the foot in, sometimes I just lift this hip of the bent knee, and that's what supports me. So there's this whole length. You can take the arms up or out or keep them here. My knee pushes out. That's my tree. All right, and if you're wobbling, just smile about it. We're just practicing not falling. So wobbling doesn't mean you're bad, and there's no being bad at yoga. If you're watching this, you're already doing fine. You're just doing. That's all we want is doing. So push the foot you're standing on. Engage your abdominals a bit so that it lines that hip up. And you'll find the quad and the belly, straighten this hip area. And then just put the foot, if you want to, you can bring it to the calf, press it into the calf. So I'm pushing it in. There's an action in that leg as well. And toes can cheat and stay on the floor. We're allowed cheating all the time. I encourage it in this, as long as you're enjoying and you can still breathe calm. So we'll just come up on our toes, just to be there and just feel that. But you just bend your knees a bit. And then up. I'm still up on my toes. And I do this a lot for knee health. Try to make sure the knees don't go outwards or inwards. Try to bend straight forward with the knees. And the other one I do is I'll keep my heels down and I'll bend the knees. And keeping these bent, I'll lift my heels and drop my heels. And lift my heels and drop my heels. And lift and drop. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a pause. And I'll catch you on the video 4, which is going to be on the ground, for some calmer twists and deeper things on the belly, the back, and seated. So I'll catch you in the next video.